What's up, people of the internet? It is I, Chris Gonzalez, your favorite West Coast Avenger, back again on another Tuesday for another episode of Trade Talk Tuesdays. And for this week's episode, it's kind of a special week since I wasn't sure what I was going to cover. So I decided, since it's been 10 years since this story came out, and it's 10 years since the movie Age of Ultron came out, and I guess this comic was released in correspondence with the release of that movie, I decided to go over Avengers Age of Ultron. And technically it's not a trade paperback, but since the story's about the length of a typical trade, I thought I'd go over it, since I enjoy the creators that on this book. And technically, it's one of the few Marvel OGNs, original graphic novels, and I'm not sure if Marvel usually doesn't do that many OGNs, so I thought it was interesting that I'd go over. So this story, again, it was released in 2015, so it's been 10 years, and again, I'm assuming it was released in promotion of the Age of Ultron film. So this story, it's written by one of my favorite writers, Rick Remender, and the artist is one of Rick Remender's frequent collaborators, Jerome Opeña, and also Pepe Larraz, who I've been enjoying his artwork. Joe Kelly's Amazing Spider-Man run, and he did some X-Men stuff, the Krakoa stuff with Jonathan Hickman. Again, Pepe Larraz did some of the artwork. Mark Morales was an inker, and some of the colorists include Dean White, Rochelle Rosenberg, who I think she's again one of my favorite colorists, and Dono Sanchez Almara, and Clayton Cowles is the letterer, and he's definitely one of the better letterers working in the comics today. So this story, again, I wasn't familiar with the story. I actually found out about this story watching Near Mid Condition, Uncanny Omar's his Avengers reading order, and I was like, oh, I like those creators. Oh, I think I would like that story. So I picked this up off of eBay. It's the size of it's oversized, so it's as tall as an omnibus, and the story pretty much is about it's starts in the past, and it heavily focuses. This is Chewie. Say hi, Chewie. It heavily focuses on obviously Ultron, and Hank Pym is a primary character, and also Vision. So it deals with, it's kind of like a father-son story, and also involves artificial intelligence, considering it's Ultron. And I found that this story is, looking in hindsight, it was very ahead of its time, because now, since AI in our society has been emerging, and it's been growing rapidly, this story is very poignant, if that's a word, I don't know, but it's very relevant today, considering all the AI that's been, and the advancement in technology that's been going on now. So this story begins with there's a flashback, and Manhattan is being attacked by Ultron, and it shows here the list of characters in the past, and then it jumps in the present, and then it deals with some characters that are also involved. So it starts in Manhattan's being attacked by Ultron, and he has many copies. And so the artwork, though, again, Jerome Opeña, I love his artwork. He's one of my favorite artists. I loved his work on the Uncanny X-Force, also with Rick Remender. He did some work on Jonathan Hickman's Avengers run. But look at how beautiful that is. And again, the coloring. I know there's multiple colorists in this story, so I'm not sure who did the coloring on this particular part of the story, but I just thought it was beautiful. But so Ultron's attacking Manhattan, and he's causing a lot of destruction. And so the Avengers, they're pretty much backs against the wall, and it's looking bleak for them. And so, but yeah, just look at how good the artwork is. Again, marvel, no pun intended, at how well Jerome Opeña illustrates these characters. Very vibrant, and just the way he draws action sequences is just very captivating. So yeah, the Avengers, they're fighting Ultron, and then Hank Pym, who is Yellow Jacket at this time, he feels responsible because, again, he created Ultron, and he's upset that his father and Hank Pym created him, and is disappointed in him. And Hank Pym, he has an internal struggle of destroying his creation, and he truly treats Ultron as his son. So they use in Ultron, he just wants his father's approval. He wants Hank Pym's approval, and he just wants Hank Pym to love him for who he is, and he feels like he was created as a reflection of Hank Pym. So pretty much they don't know what to do and how to defeat Ultron, so Hank Pym comes up with this idea to technically he manipulates Ultron's affinity for him. So he deceives Ultron. They have this heart-to-heart conversation about their relationship, and how Hank, he feels like he's failed Ultron. He gave up on him. He hated him, and he punished him for being exactly what he made him to be, and again, his reflection. And he just, in Ultron, it seems that they might come to an understanding, but then Hank Pym, he deceives Ultron by baiting him, and Hawkeye shoots this arrow to get him stuck in this ship that's made of vibranium, and they essentially shoot Ultron into space, and that's how they defeat him. And in this, Hank, he's crying because he feels, again, he has love for Ultron, and he feels responsible. So that happens in the past, and then again it flash forwards to the present, and these characters, they're called Descendants, and they're essentially synthetic beings or robots. They're attacking AIM Islands, and then the current Avengers team, they show up, and Sabretooth is on the team, and then Sam Wilson's Cap, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Vision, Wasp, Spider-Man's on the team. They go to AIM Island. They fight these robots. They're called Descendants. And Hank Pym, he joins the fray, and he's now Giant Man instead of Yellow Jacket, and he uses this device to technically shut off all the synthetics, and he destroys them, pretty much kills them. And Vision, and Hank didn't tell any of the Avengers that he created this device, and Vision really gets upset. And yeah, it's Vision is really perturbed, and because again, Vision is technically a robot, and he feels that Hank went too far, and he should have discussed this, but Hank, based on what happened in the past with Ultron, he felt that this device was necessary because if he didn't, with what happened to Ultron could have wiped them all out. And Hank, he feels that his actions were justified in creating this device, and he doesn't understand why the Avengers are, reacting that way. But I can understand both sides. And Janet, she has this discussion with Hank, and she says that, hey, just because Ultron, what happened with Ultron, doesn't mean it's your fault, that it's Hank's fault. And he feels, again, Hank just feels guilty and responsible. And then we jump to Titan, the home planet of Thanos and Star Fox, Thanos' brother. So Star Fox, he's just, I'm not sure he's in a brothel, but he's having a good time. And then something happens where a ship lands onto the planet, and it's revealed it's the ship that Ultron was in, because again, he was in a Quinjet. Ultron was trapped in a Quinjet, and the Quinjet crash landed onto Titan, and Ultron essentially takes the planet over, and he has this ability, or I guess he shoots nanobots or nanites into the citizens, and he essentially possesses them and starts to control them, and he takes over the whole planet. And this is Star Fox's father, and I guess it's Thanos' father as well, I don't know, but Star Fox's father gets captured by Ultron, and he tells Star Fox to run away, warn the Avengers about what's going on. So Star Fox escapes, and he has to, again, desert his planet Titan, but again, Ultron takes over. So it goes back to the present, back in New York. The Avengers are having a meeting about discussing what Hank did and how he should destroy the weapon, the device that neutralizes all robots and synthetics. And Hank is just like, no, like I can just dismantle this machine, but I'll just build another one because I'm right and you guys are overreacting. And some of the Avengers agree with Vision, some of them don't. Like, again, this Jane Foster's version of Thor, she partially agrees with Hank, and eventually Star Fox shows up and he tells him, like, he's warning him, hey, Ultron is on his way. And little do they know, Ultron is already there. And this is Ultron taking over Titan. And Ultron is looking for revenge against Hank. And so they have to go off and fight Ultron and try to prevent him from taking over the planet. And then there's, again, Vision and Hank, they're still having that debate of whether or not they should use this device. So Ultron sends out other Ultron bots that take the form of the various Avengers he's fought in the past. And again, they start fighting, and again, the artwork is just beautiful. Really beautiful. Jerome Opeña, I believe, again, one of the better artists working today. And so one by one, the Avengers get taken over by Ultron's influence. And then, they're trying to go back onto Titan they have to destroy the main Ultron to make everything right. And Vision, again, he asks Hank, he's like, hey, like, the citizens of Titan, they've been taken over, so if you use your device, you can potentially kill them. And Hank, again, he feels that the ends justify the means, because if he doesn't destroy them, then all is lost and everybody will be taken over by Ultron. But again, and then eventually Mighty Thor gets taken over. She starts to fight Cap and Spidey. So yeah, just the artwork. The artwork is really good. And then it's mostly Jerome Opeña, but this portion is Pepe Larraz. And again, Pepe, he's another incredible artist. But then, yeah, so it looks like Jane Foster, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, they all get taken over by Ultron. And so the remaining Avenger team, Vision, Cap, Spidey, Sabretooth, Starfox, they have to, infiltrate Titan and try to fight Ultron. And then their Quinjet explodes, so they have to crash land onto the base. And again, slowly they're racing to get to Ultron to defeat him. And slowly Spidey gets taken over. Look at this image. Look at how that's nuts. So Sabretooth, Cap. So I'm not sure if he just straight up kills Spider-Man right now, or right here. So, and I'm not sure if this story is in continuity, or it's just a self-contained story. But they go to Titan and they go to Thanos, the Temple of Thanos, and this is the only area they'll be safe in because it has no technology. And they, discuss their plan of what they're going to do. It's Vision, it's Sam, it's Captain America, Hank, and then, Vision, he has an idea. He's like, if I can assimilate with Ultron, I can take over him and, what does he say? He's like, yeah, what does he say? He's like, I can transfer that safety net to the infected, but he has to merge with Ultron, and his intangibility can be adjusted to vibrate his molecules in between Ultrons, forming a union, and once Vision's in command, he can liberate all those who have been infected by Ultron. And then Hank asks if it doesn't work, and if Ultron takes over him instead, Visions tells him, then yeah, you can use the weapon to kill us both. So eventually they confront Ultron. And again, these are the citizens of Titan who've been infected. Hank says, I want to talk to my son. And then they just have this philosophical discussion. This is really heartfelt. And again, it's pretty much the father-son story where, Ultron feels like Hank betrayed him and he was just doing what he was programmed to do. And he feels that Hank, and Hank said it himself, Ultron's just a reflection of Hank. But again, Hank deceives him and Vision tries to merge with Ultron. And then Ultron, he's crying out to Hank. He's like, Father, it hurts. He's killing me. And then Hank's like, Vision, you have to stop. He's in agony. And then Ultron, he pulls a fast one. He's like, I learned something from you, Father. deceivement or deception. Deceivement. It's not even a word. Deception. So he essentially, Ultron merges with Hank, and now he's taken over. So Cap and Vision fight him. Cap tries to reason with Hank. He's like, Hank, you're still in there. You can maintain control. And Ultron says, no, like, this is me. We're one. We are Ultron. And then Vision fights him. And then just technically Vision is Ultron's son. So it's weird, really fucked up family dynamics in this book. But yeah, so Vision is just trying to, talk some sense into Hank, but it's no use. But again, really badass fight between the two. And then Hank finally gains control. Because Star Fox, he has this ability to, I'm not sure what exactly it is. He enhances the love emotion in people. So he tries to do that with Hank, and I guess it gets through Hank. And again, goes through flashbacks of Hank creating Ultron. Yeah, so Hank gains control and he flies into space. And then Vision, he's pretty distraught. And then it goes into an epilogue of a funeral for Hank, and Janet is giving a eulogy about how Hank, how great of a man he was, and how much pain and was within him, and how he was depressed. I mean, he used that to create Ultron. And then it cuts to them being in space, but it looks like they're still alive. So, and that was it. So really enjoyed this story. Again, it's more of it's a father-son story, and how complicated it could be, and how I enjoyed how relevant it is today, with all the AI, and how people can perceive AIs, and this is just how I took it, and how AI could be both beneficial and a hindrance to our society. And I feel like Rick Remender, he did a really good job with evoking the emotions between Hank Pym and Ultron, because I really don't even care about Hank Pym as a character, but in this story, Remender's script got me to care, and he got me to feel that Hank, he feels that he's misunderstood, and I really enjoyed this story. And the artwork by Jerome Opeña and Pepe Larraz is just next level. It elevated the story, and plus the coloring. The whole creative team that produced this was, made a compelling and, way better than the Age of Ultron movie. So again, it's been 10 years, but this story still holds up. And if you're a fan of Ultron, definitely I recommend this. And I think it's out of print, but I got this on eBay. I got it for pretty cheap on eBay. So if you're interested, definitely it's worth checking out. And yeah, that was it. That was today's episode of Trade Talk Tuesdays. And so next week, the book I'm gonna go over, it's gonna be Absolute Green Lantern Volume 1 that releases this week. So you'll see that tomorrow when I post my haul for New Comic Book Day. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, just thank you for watching. Like, comment if you read this story, and if you did read it, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And yeah, that was it. Again, it's Chris Gonzalez, and I'll be back next week. Peace.